Hare Krishna, everybody. Good morning and happy Sunday. My name is Gopigita Shomakar, and I am fortunate to be the Vice Principal of TKG Academy, which is the very first Gurukula school established by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Yesterday, those of you who had joined us were privileged to watch a beautiful dialogue, listen to a beautiful dialogue by myself and Mother Janava Devi. And today we have her acclaimed husband, His Grace Mahatma Prabhu, who has been here in our community for a few weeks now, almost 2 weeks now, and giving seminars and Japa workshops. And I've been hearing messages and texts from many different friends who have been attending his classes and just inspiring and renovating the energy of our community. And so Mahatma Prabhu is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and I just found out right now that he has been
She found out that I'm an old man 48 years ago.
He's been practicing Krishna consciousness for like half a century. So please do share so that others may also join the dialogue. Today's topic is how to make sure that your kids will not chant Japa.
Okay, this is what we want to discuss, the best ways we've found to completely discourage your kids from chanting Japa. Of course, obviously the solution is to do the opposite of what we say, but we wanted to make it a little bit interesting, controversial, and funny. So,
yes. So, do you struggle with figuring out? I know many parents around North America and really around the world. This is a major struggle for us. How can we inspire our children to chant? What can we do to chant? So, what can we do to chant with them or encourage them, or do we force them? Do we not force them? I know for me it's a dilemma. I have growing sons, and so if this is a problem you face, please do also comment below and let us know. So what would you say would be the first thing that you would ask parents to do in order to make sure that our kids don't chant Japa?
Don't chant Japa yourself. That's number one. Or, I can't tell you not to chant, but you want to make sure your kids don't chant. That could be a good way.
Don't chant Japa yourself. This is so interesting because there are so many of us that may not be fixed in chanting our 16 rounds every single day and really focusing in on that time with Japa, but then we end up yelling at the kids for chanting, but we may not be chanting ourselves. Interesting, very interesting.
Don't do what I do what I say. Yeah. So that doesn't work. Kids don't necessarily listen to what we say, but they listen to what we do. So they're noticing what we're doing. Now, then you might say, okay, well, if I chant Japa, they should chant, but I chant Japa and they don't chant. So, well, maybe when you're chanting Japa, as one devotee shared, who was second generation, she said when her mother chanted Japa, it looked like her mother was sitting in an execution chair. It was like her mother just said, I hate doing this, and I'm just doing this because I have to. So what kind of example does that set? You think your kids are going to chant Japa if they look at you falling asleep or making faces or, doing 20 other things while you're chanting Japa, which shows that you don't really like it. So it creates a samskar, or you're impregnating a very bad impression of Japa.
Oh, wow. So that's the first tip.
That's a fantastic way to get them not to chant Japa, that you just simply demonstrate that you don't like it. And obviously you're not trying to do that, but if you're schnick-schnicking, ram-ramming while you're cleaning and washing dishes and looking at, Bollywood magazines or Hollywood magazines while you're chanting, they're going to think, this must be like really difficult for you. This doesn't look fun at all.
Yes. So,
bad example.
A bad example. Set a bad example. Thank you so much. We have Nitya Kishori Devi from Detroit, from Michigan joined us. Hemo Krishna Bundo has also joined. Here we are with Mahatma Prabhu. And the first way to make sure that your kids will not chant Japa is to just not enjoy it yourself. Don't do it yourself. Don't enjoy it. Really interesting, which is basically what many of us go through. We have inattentive Japa, driving Japa, car Japa, or the struggle with the mind Japa,
Really, really good one is TV Japa. Yeah, that sets a very good example. Schnick through the television show. And, your kids will learn That's what japa means. You take a vow, just get it done somehow or other, but you're not going deep, you're not meditating on Krishna. So.
It's a big responsibility. That means that in order for me to make sure or try and figure out how my kids will chant japa, I have to first set an example. I have to first figure out how my japa is going to be quality japa.
Now wouldn't it be great if every parent had a motto that I will never tell my kids to do anything I don't do? So, number one, I have to chant. Okay, so I can tell them to chant. I say, you should chant, it's nice. But there's this joke. So this boy goes up to his father and says, Father, is Mother's Bhagavad Gita better than your Bhagavad Gita? He says, what are you talking about? He says, well, she's always reading hers, and you're never reading yours, so I figured yours is better. Hers is better. We're like, Father, is Mama's japa beads better than yours? Because she's always chanting and you're not. So, that idea, if we want to teach it, we have to live it. Otherwise, see, the thing is, we're always teaching. Whatever we do is teaching. I studied a book on culture, and it's so interesting, corporate culture. And one of the things they said is, whatever the leaders model creates the culture, even if the leaders don't realize it. They're just doing what they normally do. But it may not be what they want to create as a culture, but by example, they create the culture. So every family has a culture also.
Yes. That's so interesting. If I think about the roots of, my teeny tiny little bit of interest in chanting japa, it is really that my father sat and chanted japa very attentively in the morning. And that is what I remember. Yeah. And because of that is why I have, whatever little bit of interest in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Unfortunately, I have to now replicate that as a mother. Yeah. And I have to also show that. And so, yes.
Fortunately. Not unfortunately.
Oh, sorry. Unfortunately, because I may not be so good at. I'm not so good at demonstrating that with my own children.
Fortunately, because you have the opportunity to demonstrate.
Okay.
Forces you to do it.
Fortunately, that I have that opportunity. Okay, very good. I have to change the way I speak about japa. All right. So again, for those of you who have joined, please do hit that like button and hit that share button so that many more can join. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Mahatma Prabhu, who has been inspiring our community with his japa workshops and many other seminars and workshops. And he is going to give us the tips on how we can make sure we get our kids to not want to chant. And so the first one was, don't chant yourself, don't like it, don't enjoy it, watch in front of the chant while you're watching TV, driving, cleaning the dishes, laundry. And
make sure when you're chanting japa you fall asleep, because that will really show how relishable it is, right? And the third one, well, the first one was don't chant, the second one was don't relish while you chant.
Okay. And
the third one is force them to chant. If you don't chant, no dinner tonight. So that creates a really positive impression of japa, like it's, now you're using japa like as a punishment. Or if you don't chant, then, I'm not going to take you to buy that thing I told you I was going to. Yes. So you create all these negative connotations around japa.
Yes. And that's, while you're saying that and we're laughing about it, it's unfortunate because I know quite a few peers and even close family and friends that do not want to chant japa because it was given as a punishment. Yeah. I know one young man who was chanting japa and he had pressed the record button as he was chanting, and his stepfather had come in and was yelling at him that if you haven't finished your 16 rounds yet, what are you doing? Don't you know you're going to become a juvenile delinquent? And it was like, I heard the tape of this little boy like trying to chant Hare Krishna and his dad yelling at him about it. Yeah. And I also worry that the way I talk to my children, I don't want to turn it into a nagging, like, brush your teeth, eat healthy, eat your vegetables, and chant. And so actually you're saying force them to chant, but then they'll never chant. We feel that fear that then they'll never chant if we don't make them chant. Yeah. So what would we do?
My parents never made me chant, and I'm chanting. How did that happen?
Oh, I love that. Okay, wow. Your parents never made you chant.
There was no Maha Mantra in America when I grew up. So, how is it that we're chanting? No, the thing is...
I'm just going to check real quick if we have any comments, because I can't see the comments, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is for adults as well as children. The most important thing in improving japa is we want to help inspire, in some way, get people to want to chant because they want to chant, because they realize the opportunity, the fortune, the mercy of the holy name, the nectar of the holy name, and so forth, that it's something real and genuine. My daughter, when she was like 7, said, on Janmashtami I'm chanting 16 rounds. I don't know where it came from, but somehow or other, she got inspired, and then nobody could stop her. So she said, give me up, I'm going to Mangal Arati. And people were trying to talk to her in the morning, and she wouldn't talk, and I was just watching it thinking, yes.
She was 7. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was just like she somehow or other got a desire to want to do it. So if we create a positive environment around the holy names, or the holy name is something which they'll feel is beautiful, wonderful, relishable. Like, for example, what you could do is, you like Gita Gopi, she just attended one of our Japa workshops, so now her chanting is taking a new direction. So one thing you could do is tell your kids to say, oh, this is what's going on when I chant, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. So it's like, it's not like you're telling them to chant, you're just sharing your experience of how nice it is. So it's the opposite, obviously, of looking and feeling miserable while you're chanting. So rather than force, you do something that would inspire them. So I think I used to do that with my daughter, just kind of like in passing. Oh, I had these amazing realizations this morning. I was chanting, it was so sweet.
Speaking to them about it, discussing with them your realizations while you're chanting japa. And I feel like this is really connected to your number 1, which is show them a good example, which is basically show them that you're really relishing it. Because I was thinking, Mahatma Prabhu, about ice cream. Like, if you want to ask kids to go get ice cream, no one's going to ever say no to that. But generally, or say the movies, we do it as a family. Everyone goes and let's go party and go and get some ice cream. And it's never an issue. But when it comes to chanting japa, it becomes like a nagging thing. Sit down and do it. Did you finish your rounds? It becomes an instructive thing.
I have a good one. I used to do this to my daughter and say, can you chant with me because I get inspired by your chanting?
Yes.
Or I don't want to chant alone, it's so much better with you.
Oh, yes.
So that then it gives them some sense of worth that, oh, okay, I'll chant because I'll be helping you by chanting.
Yes, for sure. That's definitely something I've been able to tell I actually feel, as a mom, or a dad, you'll actually feel so much more inspired by sitting with your children and chanting, and you can communicate that to them. And I definitely do. When I'm chanting my japa and both the boys join me, suddenly my japa is uplifted. Because our children are also coming from a higher level of Krishna consciousness to be taking birth in a family of Vaishnavas. They already have their previous samskaras and Krishna consciousness from their previous life. And we don't know, some of them may have been Prabhupada disciples, some of them may have been sannyasis, brahmacharis, we don't know where they're coming from. And so I actually feel purified by my children's japa. So you can communicate that to them. That's a great point.
And then after you finish chanting, thank them. Say, thank you. That really helped me. Can we do this tomorrow? Or can we do it every day? Something like that.
Yeah.
Also, if we're going to do negative, don't make sure they never go to a japa workshop or retreat because they're kids and they're too young and they would just get bored. We've had kids 8 years old go through 2 days of japa workshop, and actually somehow or other the parents got them somewhat excited about it, and they got into it and they actually did it. Not every kid, but I've done a lot of workshops and a lot of kids have gone through it. So that's something to consider. And or in your community, we can create a japa workshop just for kids.
Just for kids, yes.
It's like we're going to do this, but you have to make it exciting. Say, look, at the adults get to do this. We're going to do this for you. Why not for the kids? They love it. They have a great time.
Yes. And
make it fun and have nice prasadam and nice kirtan and talk about japa and have skits and make fun of bad japa and
Yes. Oh, that's exciting, because I just attended one of Mahatma Prabhu's. I just attended your japa workshop, and it was very interactive and a lot of dialogue, and then he will be visiting the TKG Academy and doing a japa workshop there as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Thank you so much, all of you have joined. I see Shannon is here, and Kamalnayan Padi has just joined us. Hare Krishna, please do hit that share button. We're here with Mahatma Prabhu discussing ways to make sure that your kids will not ever want to chant japa. So I'm just going to recap. Number 1 was don't chant japa yourself. Number 2 was don't relish the japa. Don't show that you relish the japa, which I really like, because a lot of us, we make our japa such a drag, and then we expect that our kids are going to love it, right? And number 3 was I don't remember number 3.
I can't remember either. But one of them is make sure you force them.
Make sure you force them. That was number 3. Make sure you force your kids to chant japa. And this is such a big deal, and this is a tried and proven way. It has happened with many second generation youth that if their parents have forced them to chant japa, or the ashram, or the situation they were in, and it absolutely works. Your kids will definitely not, until their 40s and 50s, want to pick up beads.
And then even worse than that, use japa as a punishment.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow. People actually do that, huh? Use japa as a punishment?
They did in Gurukula. They said, you don't behave, then I'll make you chant extra rounds, or something like that, Or, like we were saying, okay, if you don't chant your round, I promise you an ice cream, but, we're not going to get the ice cream unless you, chant your rounds by 10 o'clock, So they don't, the ice cream's gone. So japa now means, disappointment. It's negative connotations.
Yes.
The whole idea is the familiar or the common link in all of these is you have to do things that associate pleasure, closeness to God, bliss and so forth with japa. Otherwise, we're associating negatives. And then we're wondering, well, why don't my kids chant japa? Well, I have all sorts of negatives associated with it also. I'm transferring these negatives. Well, I chant my japa, but even though I don't feel like it, I chant it, so why don't you chant it? So what does that say? It says, you don't like it either, and you're telling me to do something you don't like. Like my father said, go out and make a lot of money. And I said, so I'll end up like you, right? Miserable. I'm not going to do that. So just because we tell them it's good, we're miserable doing it, they're going to say, I'm not going to do that. Yes. Just because, you're telling me, but look what it's doing to you. You don't like it.
Absolutely. So these are all the ways to get your kids to not chant japa. But then a question may come up that, okay, I've done the opposite of all that, right? I've done the things I'm supposed to do. I'm putting positive connotations to it, creating environments, and my child is still 16 years old, and they will not pick up the beads on their own and chant the japa. So now what do I do? Have I failed? Should I have forced them to do it, or got them started with 10 rounds a day when they were 5? What would you say to a mom or a dad who has that question?
Take them to Mayapur.
Yes. Take them to the Holy Dham.
One of the things we did with our daughter is we went to India a lot. We just wanted her to submerge her in that environment. And my wife, we brought her when she was 5, and then I think 7, and then 9, and then we lived there. I said, let's let her live here for a while. So really submerged her in that environment. And they were saying, yeah, well, I can't do that. But are there any kids that are chanting japa, or any kids that, see if they can get that kind of association, or organize the kids japa hike, or we do this with non-devotees. We do a japa hike or japa walk. We're doing a japa hike, this weekend, and everyone's going to chant when they go, and
we have to be creative in figuring out how to create environments and groups to get them to be motivated and motivating each other. You said go to Mayapur, and then you said you immersed your daughter in the Holy Dham. And every December we have 2 weeks off at school, and I'm always like, am I going? Am I not going? Do I just sit in the plane and run? And there's that prayer in Manashiksha by Raghunath S. Goswami where he just says, drop everything and go to Vrindavan now.
Well, I got some good stories. I have some really good stories about adults going to Mayapur. Often people write me and say, I'm having trouble with my father, he's not a devotee, or he's a Mayavadi, or he believes in Krishna, but he doesn't like ISKCON, this, that, and the next. And somehow or other, because they're Indians and they understand the value of the Holy Dham, or for whatever reason, they go to the Holy Dham, and then I get the letters that my father's a devotee now.
Oh, wow.
This has happened 3 times, we're having a wedding, it's going to be in Mayapur, so my family's coming. And then they come and said, he loves Prabhupada now, he's reading his books, he's chanting 1 round a day. And he was, trying to pull me out of the movement before that. So the Dham is very powerful. So, not just for japa, but in general, if you can
take your children,
if you can get them 2, 3, 4 weeks in the Dham, and just let them do whatever they want to do in the Dham. Just be there.
Yes.
What's in the Dham? It's just kirtan, it's hearing, chanting,
Yes.
beautiful deities and so on, parikramas. That helps a lot. The environment, and a lot of times when families come, the kids will come and the families will get them to make a little vow and say, now we're going to the Dham. How many rounds do you want to chant? Because you don't have school, you don't have anything, and the kids they'll get in the mood. They go, okay. One kid came. He wasn't chanting any rounds. He wasn't. I forget the exact situation. Chanting few or no rounds, and he said, I'm chanting 16 rounds every day. And every day in the Dham, he chanted 16 rounds. So
Wow.
a lot of kids will, when they get in that atmosphere, like something will click from, because they're raised as devotees.
Yes.
They understand the importance of the Dham, and they're like, yes, I'm going to do 16 or 8 or whatever when I go to the Dham. So that's a possibility. And, you have to make Japa, put it on a pedestal, like, wow, we're so fortunate. We have this process. It's so sweet, and so much can happen.
Wonderful. That's all really great tips. So many wonderful, helpful tips. Well, thank you so much for joining. Again, I'm here with Mahatma Prabhu, and we'll wrap up now. So we had discussed ways to get your kids to make just like definite ways that they will not chant japa. And number 1 was don't chant it yourself. Number 2 was don't relish it. Number 3 was force your kids to chant their japa. And then there were so many other little tidbits of information here. Please do share.
Punish them.
Punish them.
With japa.
Use japa to punish them.
You got bad grades, 10 rounds. Repentance.
It's so sad. That's what we stopped doing lines in education, like making kids write their lines, because it's like a punishment. Writing shouldn't be used as a punishment.
Write the Hare Krishna mantra 108 times because you were late.
I think actually that was a punishment in my Gurukul when I was a little girl.
So bad.
I actually remember having to write the Hare Krishna mantra as a punishment.
Okay, so we want to sum this up. We'll say positive connotations
Yes.
connected with the holy name. Model positive connotations. And you might say, I don't even like chanting. Well, then fake it. Because just pray to Krishna to give me a taste. Because if you don't show it, it's going to be really hard for your kids. Unless your kids have descended from some very elevated position and they're like Prahlad, and it doesn't matter what happens. But we can't depend on them being Prahlad, that they're naturally going to want to chant. So if you're relishing it, the likelihood of them relishing is going to be higher.
Okay, so we have to show that we relish it. I've got my homework cut out for me, because I usually, when I'm chanting, I'm on the sofa, and I hope I'm not like look like I'm suffering. All right, well, thank you so much, Hare Krishna Mandakini. So good to have you. You can watch this. It's going to be posted up live, and you're going to get a lot of tips for your boys. I think they're probably already chanting. So Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Haribol.